Remember, I offered to not pay for anything on private property, but
Yes. Okay, what have you got?
so we have a snow removal agreement with Bonneville County and Caribou County first on the agenda. Hopefully that'll be fairly quick, although I wanted, so this copy has been signed by the Caribou County Commissioners. But before I have you sign it, we wanted to talk just a little bit about Graves Lake in particular. And
How much more is that than last year?
A lot.
185% increase from last year. Last year, we paid $23,754. This year, without any overtime, it's $43,838. So it's 185% increase from last year without any overtime.
What they do is, because they never know what kind of winter it's gonna be. So they base it on the years before, the year before you bill, that's their new contract.
But that's supposed to include overtime from the year before.
And that part I don't know, but this contract is based on what happened last year, because you know, the snow is, and they're making up for all the energy what we spent last year. That's the way they've chosen to put their agreement together. They have to talk to Somsen. They could change that and have something more predictable.
If we get out ahead of this far enough, like right now, could we put Tammy on notice that we are plowing into her place this year, but beyond this year, we will not?
I'll let you deal with that, because it's gonna be the same thing. She's gonna say, I want to go back in there. Come pick up my body in the summer.
We need to talk to Scott then, because if he said we're on firm legal ground, I think we have to do that based on what we're paying now. I mean,
Based on
what
last
that
year's
costs
cost,
us to plow another 6-7 miles, you know, it's tens of thousands of dollars.
yeah, it is. Now, with that also said, KR and I had a question about whether that 17.3 miles is accurate. And so our guys, when they went up there to close the roads just this week, measured it out in a vehicle for the number of miles that Dwight is plowing. And they come up with 14.6,
14.6.
not 17.3. So it's something else that we need to discuss with Caribou County Commissioners next year is like, so it's not 17.3, it's less than that.
Why next year? I mean, if there's, the mileage is wrong, why are we addressing the mileage?
Well,
They're basing it on the cost.
they're basing it on per mile. And it is listed in there as 17.3 miles.
I say we correct this before we sign. Then.
Well,
That
we
would
can,
change the amount.
we can certainly do that with them. They'll just have to re-sign it too.
Yeah, John is gonna work with them on it. I don't know if we- You know, but if we're not gonna plow, if we don't have an agreement, then it has the same effect of what we were talking about. Slows everybody in.
Would we be okay if we put this on hold till next Wednesday and let John work with Bryce to see if they'll agree to that mileage?
Most likely, I mean, we can probably do that just fine.
Looking at the weather, yeah.
So we
Think
can
about
put
that.
that on hold and
Either that or we just approve it based on the corrected mileage and send it up to him.
And I'd be okay with that too.
well, it's just, they don't know that the mileage is gonna be corrected from what it is now.
And out of courtesy, we should,
Contact them.
Let's
first.
let's put it on next Wednesday.
Okay. The other thing to talk about with this particular agreement and with the amount of money we're talking about
Copy that to John.
is we're very close to, between the money that we pay to Caribou County and the money that we pay for extra attention with our graders and operators in the summertime to try to get that done in a short time frame. We're very close to breaking even on having our own operator full-time up there.
The problem you had before was finding one.
Yes, and we talked to a gentleman up there that would probably consider doing it if we could offer him full-time year-round work.
Could you pull him back this way in the summer?
He would be up there in the summer, because there's more miles up there to maintain in the summer than some of our areas down here in the summer.
It would require another grader then,
It would require another grader.
figuring that in your calculation.
That was figured in the calculation, spreading it over a 10-year, was it 7 years? 7 years. Basically, amortizing the cost of a new grader over 7 years. It would be in that number that would break even.
What happens when you can't get another operator after you do that?
There is that question. And we've had potentials of operators from down here offering to move up there, but they don't have a house. So that's, I mean, yeah, that is a question that we don't have an answer for right now.
What would that do to us if they agreed to move up there? We'd be on the hook for any of the housing.
If they agreed to move up there, no, I don't think so. I mean, they'd have to figure that out for themselves. But as a Bonneville County employee choosing to move up there to the area, they'd be on the hook for that housing cost and living cost.
And the other question is, does that factor in not doing the extra 6 miles back to Tammy's?
Well, no, it doesn't. The cost that we put together factored in at this price and doing all the way back into town.
Yeah, this is the worst case price. If you're factoring it on that, it's not gonna be that every year.
Probably won't be that every year, but again, we're getting close to breaking even within $15,000-$20,000 of breaking even.
Just run over in a spreadsheet, shows.
Okay, and we have a spreadsheet to show you that's can be explained just a little bit, but it's right now with what we're costing is 170.
Right now, to maintain Gray's Lake per year with is
Caribou.
189,000, and for the full-time operator estimated about 178,000.
Okay,
But there's like 61.6 miles of gravel roads up in that Gray's Lake area that when we had an operator up there, that's what he maintained, that's what Gary maintained
In the summertime.
in the summertime, and then so by the time we send graders over there a couple times a year,
and how many miles of his driveway?
He doesn't have a very long driveway
Oh,
over there,
I don't
but
know.
I'm sure, yeah, that
I know
driveway was kept clean, I'm sure, but
that was one of the biggest complaints of the neighbors up there, was Gary taking care of himself.
he would park the grader at his house, so.
Yeah. Which he didn't charge as much rent, just for the power.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it worked at the time.
Yeah,
Or would you keep the grader? This potential operator has a place to just keep it there. It's like,
we'd have to work something out like that we did
Like
with
you had
Gary
with Gary.
to pay for the power to keep it plugged in.
right now Kent Schultz does. Yeah,
I think it's worth considering.
Yeah. Like it won't happen this year also. This is the numbers.
I did send you a breakdown over the past few years too of cost per mile and whether overtime was in the agreement or not. And hopefully you all saw that, but that did show that 185% increase from last year.
Bring up to speed, they went up a few over miles. We've got, how many miles?
14.6.
We wonder if you would call Bryce.
Yep,
See if
and
he'll
send us a
agree.
map with the. Have it on a map.
That should be easy. Evidently, our employee measured it, and that's what he came up with, is 14.6.
14.6.
Okay. What's next?
Forest Service, the Schedule A agreement. So you had a copy on, I think, is it on DocuSign? Or is it? Okay, so here's a blank clean copy of the proposed Schedule A agreement. And I asked Tracy to come with a map, and I know there was a few road segments that you had questions on and wanted to kind of talk about, one of which was, I know, was Garden Creek.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Yep.
Doesn't exist, so.
Apparently no one's looked at the list for many years. So I had our GIS folks plot this map, and it does include some stuff that's over on Teton Basin, but you can see the county line is this yellow. And so, yeah, Garden Creek should not be on there. I didn't know if there were others that you had questions about or you wanted to look at. If you want to look at this map, I don't know how you want to do this.
So I know before we've talked about a couple different road segments, specifically like Big Elk. And the jurisdiction of Big Elk as county versus Forest Service.
Forest Service.
And so there was some of those types of roads that I wanted, I didn't know if the commissioners had specific questions or not. I know we've talked about a number of different roadway segments.
Well, yeah, that was my concern before, is that those were Forest Service roads. You know, where the agreement was that we were maintaining them.
And that is not an easement, is that correct on Big Elk? I was thinking it was, but I could be wrong.
Well, it says on here, status county right of way, Forest Service easement to county.
Okay, yeah. And
There's a couple of residences back
Yeah,
there
there's-
year round, so.
the first part of the road, I think, is the only place where there's private. So, yeah, that's, that was my, take on that one, is that it is an easement, and that's why it shows,
Scripted or dedicated or what?
what do they call it? They say jurisdiction, and,
Oh, it's a new word.
yeah,
Well,
in the
that's-
Schedule A list.
that's why one of the questions came up is,
Yeah.
should it be county jurisdiction
And-
for this particular road segment? And so I think one of the things that Tom and you and I talked about is this Schedule A agreement puts in place the opportunity to do road projects together, and if it's not in the list, if there's ever any available money from the Forest Service, we can't utilize it. So that's why it's on the list.
Right,
But the concern is whether it's truly county jurisdiction or it's Forest Service jurisdiction.
and I guess that easement, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. But I just wonder if that's yeah. I just wonder if that's we need to define jurisdiction and what that means, but maybe it's, maybe there's more explanation. We could include like the easement language instead of the word jurisdiction.
You know, Forest Service jurisdiction, the county maintained per the agreement.
And there is
Well,
one,
there's the easements and then there's the agreement. So we're having this conversation in Lincoln County also with McCoy Creek Road. And so there are different kinds of easements. The language in the easement would say, should say, total maintenance responsibilities are not. But I do think there's a different category than like the paved road. That's maybe what Big Elk is that other category. It's a right of way.
and one of the reasons specifically we talked about Big Elk is it is another very large potential for slipping into the reservoir
Yeah.
if something goes wrong,
Mhm.
and we don't want it as a county responsibility if there's a landslide
Right,
on Big Elk. We
okay,
don't want it to be our responsibility like what's being talked about on Bear Creek.
That far back.
What's that?
they're in that first part. And
They look
Yeah,
right down on
we
the
see
boat
that.
ramp.
yeah, the boat ramp.
That part,
They're up on the hillside.
Good go, it's way up high, which we've had issues trying to do a snowmobile trail because of the potential to slide the growers off up there at the top.
Well, and on this agreement, there's 2.05 miles.
Yeah.
Of road.
And that would be up to
That,
them.
on that part,
Well, this is the only part that's in the Schedule A agreement.
okay. That's what campgrounds.
Yeah, so that's where those private
Right.
residents take off from the big up road.
So is that the part that was slumping off into the
That is the steeper part.
reason they closed it, went around, or when they closed it over the top of the dam?
Oh,
Well,
I'm
we're
talking
talking
about
Bear
Big
Creek
Out,
and
sorry,
she's talking
Big,
Big Elk.
Big Out with Bear Creek. So Big Out's on the other side of the reservoir,
Oh,
The
yeah,
line.
your side, that's okay.
yeah,
But it's another area that's very suspect to the same sort of landslide potential that we have on Bear Creek.
yeah,
Is that road ever moved? I quit now. The Big Elk one.
yeah, not since,
So what changes lands? Depending on who has jurisdiction, what changes in your operation?
From what we've been told on Bear Creek, because it said county jurisdiction, it's yours to take care of if we have a landslide.
well, I think, again, two different things, and this is, like I said, same conversation we're having. There's an easement on Bear Creek. And this Schedule A is just a listing of who's
But
just
it's-
what for maintenance responsibilities.
Well, maintenance
basically.
responsibility, but jurisdiction means that we're responsible for the cost of repair.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know
That's
that
what we
the
were
Schedule
told.
A agreement is that the thing that would,
On site with your guy from Ogden, that's what he said.
yeah, I think it's part of the easement
Bear
document
Creek. and
that we
deed over to us.
have.
Well,
It-
I don't know. How far up was deed?
Just the paved piece.
Just the paved piece? Well, so
Well, actually,
Where it slipped.
yeah. It had to be a county road to get the money to pay it. And it couldn't be a Forest Service road, or we wouldn't be able to get the money. So, you know, for this Schedule A agreement, which is that tool that we can trade money or work on projects, that we can give you money to do things that is where, you know, we wanna make sure all the roads are on here. This word jurisdiction, I think we should make sure it's defined somewhere, and I don't know what the language is in the new agreement that you have. You have it, I haven't really seen it. Oh, by the way, Tom would be here today, and so is Steve Jenkins gonna be here. They're both sick, so. you got-
better than being stupid.
they're just, they both sounded terrible, so. Glad they're not there.
Supposedly the definition of jurisdiction is the official power to make legal decisions and judgments. So who has the authority to make decisions on that road?
I think that we,
That's you.
well,
right?
I don't know, you know, Fall Creek is another example. We've had this conversation about Fall Creek. You know, the Forest Service was making decisions on the closures and the opening dates. And because when we said, the county said, no, we have an easement on Fall Creek, that's our call to make. So that's why we are in the mix of that closure for the actual road. Anymore. So I guess, you know, more to figure out, and they could be different kinds of easements.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there is more that we could do to figure out those kinds of responsibilities for like a failure. Okay, so,
Just need to be done.
well, as Tom said, I think he explained, our grants and agreements process is sort of out of our hands. So you guys have received this through the grants and agreements process. If you sign the agreement, we have this Schedule A road list that is a separate document. It's part of it, but we can change this at any time with signatures. Without going back to the grants and agreements, folks.
Well,
So
there's three different parts, right, to the Schedule A agreement. There's the agreement, there's the list of roads, and then there's any project agreements to talk about specific road improvements on a road that's listed in the list.
Yes, and those would be that
So
would be a
this is-
separate
Yeah, this
Document.
is two parts
Parts.
Yep.
of the overall thing.
yes.
So the big concern is definition
And
of
the-
jurisdictions.
the list.
Can we get that cleared up
Yeah, I
before
think
we
we can.
do it?
I think we can easily, I think we could go back to those easement documents and and figure out what it said. Because what we found in Lincoln County was McCoy Creek was just a little bit different than other easement documents. Some of them are very old. I don't know that they would look the same if we did them today. But, I know some of these are quite old too.
Could you do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
When we get it on the agenda, that's the one. concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you want to move ahead with signing the agreement, we can redo this road list after we've gone through the,
And we would have a chance to sign, well, we sign the agreement, but that doesn't bind us to this road list until we approve it. Correct?
Well, I think what it does is it keeps it in place.
yes,
And then we have the opportunity to come back afterwards and say, let's look at the list of roads and change the list of roads. But it doesn't change the signed agreement,
Right.
it just changes the list.
and keeping that signed agreement in place, I think right now would be a good thing if we did have the opportunity to exchange money. You know,
And the likelihood of that is,
I don't know.
Yeah.
You probably know as much as I do about what Congress is doing, so I don't know, we don't have a budget yet passed by Congress. But should the opportunity come up or other sorts of, any other kind of money, you know, we would wanna have this in place. Cause if we had to go back through the grants and agreements process, that could take
Yeah.
months.
so, I mean, it is taking months, so we had the draft copy of this in September on the agenda, but it said draft across it, and I didn't
Yeah.
want you commissioners to sign something that said draft across it. It took until December to get a clean copy without the word draft on it.
And that is our grants and agreements process.
Well, if we were to approve this, I'm assuming it would be with the condition that there's an understanding that
We're gonna tweak it.
yeah,
Review it, and I think we can easily come up with more, I don't know if it's in this list, but an understanding of what that jurisdiction is for each road, because it could be different.
Yeah.
Okay,
so everybody okay with it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've got a clean copy there?
Mhm.
and we need to get rid of things like Garden Creek Road for sure. There was one other road, I'll bring it up now, even though we don't tweak the list. But Brian Fuel mentioned this, road. He couldn't be here today either. Deep Creek,
Sheep,
Deep
oh, Deep
Creek.
Creek,
Oh, yeah.
that's Forest Service Road.
He wondered if the county would consider it,
No,
since they do a number of roads in Jackknife already.
I think we maintain it back, what, about a quarter of a mile back to that first pipe.
I'm not sure that's why Colby's here, because he knows more about that area.
I know the road, no,
Yeah,
13.
lucky number.
People living back in there.
no,
It's more recreational than anything. When you have water.
That's what he said.
That's because he goes up there and hunts.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. It says a Bonneville County employee calls me every year asking if the road could be graded.
You want me to write his name down?
If we would consider the county to do that work, that's what it says.
Who's that?
I don't know. He does.
Jared Stoller.
Well, see, that goes back into the idea that we're trying to figure out the cost of the whole thing. You know, and how many miles are you talking about?
We maintain, I believe it's about a quarter of a mile, and then it goes back in there. I'm not sure how far it goes
It's on
back in
this
there. It
map.
goes back in there. About another mile and a half
Nobody
past that.
needs it now. Nobody?
It-
we're
it-
clear over,
Yeah.
we're clear over in that corner
So
over there.
it's, there's different levels of maintenance on the Forest Service itemized list, and I think that one is probably about as low as it gets for, how often
We
it's
maintain
maintained and what's
That
maintenance
much, and then it
cost.
comes clear back into here.
Why we would go back in there.
It's quite a John.
Well, that was his only comment to the,
Yeah, they could
to
get
the list.
almost track vehicles.
Yeah. Well,
How can you chase those animals if you're not on a snow machine?
In the early fall, there's no snow, so.
Let me get a four-wheeler. Cause I'm sure you'd let them off the road anyway.
well, I think, yeah. That's on someone else's ranger district, so.
So did you guys maintain up to the divide where it goes up Pat Canyon to the tower or at Deep Creek? Is that where you stop? The road, the Deep Creek Road forks, they go up to the communication tower, the cell tower.
And I believe that's the road that does that. There's another one that comes off of Tom's Road. Isn't that one?
Tom's Road continues on and we don't do,
I know that, but that's the road that goes up to the towers. Which one? There's one, there's actually two different towers, come to think. about
there's
it.
one out of the subdivision in Wyoming too, right?
Right, Lincoln County takes care of that one.
Yeah,
And then this also still falls under the tri-county agreement between Caribou County and Lincoln County, and Caribou County maintains the jackknife area for us.
Oh,
And that particular Deep Creek Road is nothing but a dirt road, and
Yeah.
now we don't have them.
Okay, that's totally fine with me. I just-
But then that's not my call.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if you guys wanna keep this, we kind of,
I'd like to keep.
yeah,
it.
yeah, and
It's a lovely
anything. Anything that you see that is incorrect, doesn't look right for the distance you actually go, or. You can get that corrected.
Are we doing data exchange with you on our GIS?
Not that I'm aware of.
Cause we were kind of working on that at one time.
Yeah,
You know, where if we could get your layer, put it in and then provide you with.
yeah, and that's just what Cheryl, our GIS person, has created as a layer for these agreements, so.
Yeah, but if we could have a copy of that
Uh-huh.
on our
Yep.
map and then provide you with whatever you need.
Yes, and this agreement should have it,
Yeah,
Yes.
cause, I mean, electronic,
yes,
so that, you can look, Lance can look it up, he doesn't need this.
yes,
And also there's probably a benefit to you guys for knowing the ownerships and everything around, which you have access to
yeah,
around the forest boundary. Cause we're gonna do another flight next year in the rural area, which is much more detailed. Chris may be approaching you to see if there might be some participation in, exchange for getting that,
yeah,
because it'll be one of the high resolution. I don't know who you have, like we use spectrometry, which is a 3D.
I don't think you do aerial flights, do you?
we do them once every, I don't even know now, there's some LiDAR work that's been going on, I
Yeah,
don't know
but
where
it's not-
exactly.
Yeah.
It's all out of our regional office now, so.
Have you got a card or who would Trish contact?
Her name is Cheryl Beck, and I can forward you
If
that.
you'll give me the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, and then we can coordinate that on the next flight.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a whole lot cheaper and more up to date than you guys. Because what that'd do is show any new cabins, any new structures, anything in there.
Yeah.
Which should help on the fire.
Yeah, that would be a good
Water.
tool.
Cooking. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
anything else you have questions about? Oh, I was wondering, could we get an update of what's happening with that road? Anybody know?
Right now, in the winter time, nothing,
Yes,
so.
got that.
Did
Um,
they meet with Simpsons people with you?
Not with me, they had people scheduled for
Okay.
Simpsons people.
They just said that they had, yeah, they just mentioned that you had met with them. And that's all.
Yeah, they're trying to come up with a pocket of funding.
Do we have a dollar amount? Okay, that's what I wanted.
No, I.
If there was a design or a plan or,
So they're working on yeah.
14 inches in the snow, it's great.
they're getting the rest of the information together from going in and excavating out, finding the slip slope. And finding where it actually happened, but I haven't seen anything in a few weeks now.
okay,
From
I
that.
was just curious if that was,
Yeah, hopefully we'll see something fairly quick about them getting with a geotech engineer and having some other ideas about how they can approach this.
okay,
So that's what Congress was waiting for is
the
the price.
the price, yeah, that's what I was.
I told them $45 million.
Great.
I can ask for an update.
Out of their head.
No, I was just gonna make a comment about a school block where they have all this extra. stuff.
Yeah.
Tracy, I'll ask for an
Those other
update
roads
from
around.
the engineer and
Okay.
see if I can get that over to you.
All right, we just, a lot of people asking.
Hey,
Okay,
you're welcome to stay.
oh, no, I don't want to say, that's all right.
Well, sometimes it's quite quick.
So it is kind of interesting, but no.
Thanks.
You're
So we
welcome.
had a plat and development agreement on the agenda, but they did not get the development agreement signed by the developer back. There was a change, or well, there was a slight change because the one that they had signed did not have the lighting district language in it, and we wanted to make sure that this is the corner of Ammon and Lincoln. We wanted to make sure they have the lighting district language in that. So that probably be pushed till next week.
Right by the sheriff's office out there.
Yeah, so this
Across
is
from that
River
bridge.
Bend Holdings.
Oh,
They wanna build a facility right there at the corner and have some internal private roads. But we still wanted to have a light district there.
See it.
And I don't know whether the sheriff's office has talked to you about their annex building, but on the plat, if the sheriff's office doesn't purchase 3 lots, there's at least 1 lot that doesn't have any legal access to it through this plat.
Sheriff's.
I have no idea what Sam's followed up on that or not.
He was working with Devin on it.
It will have access to it through the back part of the development. Yeah, because they're only developing front right now, but there's a master plan for the whole
Master
lot.
plan would have a road back there,
We'll
but
have a target pool of money. Depends on what his priorities are.
And when we talked with Devin and Sam, cause I went to that meeting, they basically just left those lots there as an option. And Devin split them into 3 so that if the sheriff couldn't buy all of them or any of them, whatever, then they'll just end up going back out to public sale, but he just wanted to leave the option open. For sheriff's office expansion if they could, but
Do you have an idea on price?
I don't think he's given any price. At one point, they were interested in some trade too. Possibly of other county property, but
Which I don't know if we have any surplus property that they could use.
yeah,
Let's see,
well, ag stuff.
have a strip of ground alone.
I was gonna say we got
Oh.
gravel pit.
I had had Trish identify all the properties that were
Not
owned by
very
the
big,
county, and
but-
send them, just in case there was something they were interested in.
Yeah,
but
tell them we've got how deep is that strip?
40
40
feet.
About half mile. Top of somebody's property that they don't want to. Trade.
It is ag, it's right next to a field.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was just part of the discussion at that time, but I don't know whatever it came of that.
I don't know if we have any ag ground that you could trade him. You know, unless it's future gravel pit, it's already designated, so.
Don't have any of that either. I mean, nothing that I'm aware of.
Well, of mine, on some of our sites.
Mm,
There's one out where the flyers.
yeah, we're going to need
I don't,
that ground, so
so I don't think you'd wanna,
I don't think we wanna get rid of anything that we have. Lopez pit, cause we need that for future materials, same with Baldwin. We need the unmined portion for future road projects and
well, maybe tell Devin that, you know, we would trade him. For 50% of the appraisal, the rest would be in trade for goodwill for the community.
Yeah, I don't know where that ended up. It's been probably 4 or 5 months since we talked about any of that, but I know that Mel Luca was supposed to get Sam some numbers on those pieces of ground and Sam was gonna look at them. That's all I know, so.
You know, he'll be coming in now that he has a carryover target and a plan, so he can look at it and discuss what he wants to do.
did you wanna talk any more about 49th North or
No,
just
next
next
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause you got. You know, it's too many different conversations going on to get everybody in the same room.
Okay.
Cause all Tim says, we just wanna know what direction. For them, it's better. If they're gonna.
Do the
move
whole mile.
whole line.
Yeah.
Or if they're gonna move a part of the line, not have to move it again.
Right.
So he just needs an answer from us. I don't think we're prepared until we find out what the school found out.
I've got verification from the school that they're coming next Wednesday, so.
Okay. Yeah, cause
Will you add that to the agenda, Kana, please?
yeah, he said, Braybeck won't come up with a price till he knows which direction we're gonna go. And then he'd come up with the price of moving those 6 or 7 poles.
Well, and I don't think there's 6 or 7 for the school district proper, but for school and Badger Creek, there might be 6 or 7.
I think that's what they're looking at.
Okay.
Cause you know, the other developer have the same issue.
Yeah.
You know, then, and in our discussion, it's whether now when they're doing, have them build it and then add to it to fill in the. Which makes. So. But somehow we'd have to.
Collect money up
Collect
front.
money up
That's-
front and then let the let it up, depending on what we've got for reserves and all of that's. You know, a good value, to get it all done together for that half mile and it'd be cheap enough. Or if you just let them build it in pieces,
Yeah,
you know, cause you could almost go. The half section and have a 3-lane road till you're ready to go on the other side. In the future.
and that's a possibility. It just doesn't get. It puts the burden back on Bonneville County for the rest of that fight to get to a 5-lane section.
Yeah, but there's sections of that we're gonna have the burden anyway.
Right. Yeah, in front of Wolf Creek, we
I don't-
have that burden.
But I don't think we want to send a signal out to the developers so that they wait. And we'll go ahead and try to purchase easements. We should go through the plat process.
Okay, well, we'll can talk about that next week then.
Okay.
And I don't,
I was just gonna talk about Kit's Place subdivision briefly, so they came in and bonded for all their infrastructure and roadway improvements. Basically, the language we have in our development agreement says the box they checked. Construct and install at his or her own expense, all improvements as shown on the approved improvement plans, subject to special conditions and item Q below. And produce a guarantee of completion, exhibit C, which they've done, is outlined below in lieu of completing all infrastructure improvements prior to the issuance of building permits. So they did that, they posted a bond. Problem is, they haven't put any water and sewer lines in the road, so when they go to Iona Bonneville Sewer District and say, okay, we need a sewer permit. For this building, this house that we're gonna construct here, I own a Bonneville Sewer District says, well, we won't give you a sewer permit because the line's not in the road. And we don't have, so we can't say it's a valid connection. So my initial stance was, well, I won't give you a building permit until I have proof that it can be served by sewer, which is a permit from Iona Bonneville Sewer District. So they came back with basically a development agreement with Iona Bonneville Sewer District showing that they're gonna put in the lines, everything they're gonna do, and then we'll serve from Iona Bonneville Sewer District. So after looking through that and looking through this language, I don't really know that we have a choice other than to allow the issuance of the building permits and them to move forward, and then we'll either just have to hold the certificate of occupancy at time of until they have a sewer permit, or just allow them to do the foundation and not go any further until we have a sewer permit.
So we established that a few years ago for people who wanted to get it in before the frost.
Yeah.
But then they had to get the rest of it done, so there's kind of three different
Yeah.
levels, and that gives them a building permit. But to explain your concerns with what's
Well,
gonna happen if they put a foundation in and then the width.
so Kit's Place, if you remember, is off of Hardy. And it's just a very small little cul-de-sac area. It's gonna be high density. It's not single family dwellings. It's
It's twin
twin homes. or
homes, so
duplexes.
shared lot line twin homes, yeah.
And so my concern is if they get a building permit and they go in and try to put these foundations in, but at the same time, they're trying to put the sewer line down the center of this private roadway, how do you get the foundations built when you're trying to dig a trench and install a sewer line? Pretty difficult, I think, within the realm of how much space do you have in here?
What if they did the foundations and then put the sewer line in?
Well, and if they do that, it's a different scenario where, okay, you grab them a foundation permit, but they can't go vertical from there until the sewer line's in. That's not what they want. They have the same contractor. To me, what they told me is same contractors building all of these buildings and installing the water line and the sewer line. So it's the same guy, and if he gets a foundation permit, he's gonna concentrate on the foundation because that's where more money is. He's not gonna worry about the sewer line until it's better digging conditions in the spring when things are
Why is that a problem?
I
don't
think
understand why
space
that's-
on the road.
I think as long as we have the documentation that says it's their responsibility, it's on them. If
It
they
is
go in
on
and
them.
put the
I would
foundations
agree. I
in
don't
and
think we wanna get down to where we're telling.
can't
people
get
how
the
to do their
sewer line
job.
in, then
And I'm
they
not
gotta
trying
take
to
the
do that.
foundation out. I mean.
Yeah.
And there's even, I thought about this, but when we were going through some of the similar stuff with Ursid, there's actually a little waiver that Scott put together that basically they sign. That says we understand these conditions, that we're getting a building permit, but we don't have a sewer connection yet. So I'll probably use that too. Just to cover us, but
My larger concern came from our development agreement. And do we need to change the wording on there to focus on you're bonding for all of these public improvements, but the county can't make these outside private entities give you permission to get a sewer permit or a water connection permit. And so regardless of whether you bond for us for those improvements, it doesn't keep them from saying, well, you have to do this.
I think we just need to put something in here, and I was thinking about this yesterday. That even if they're bonding for the improvements, that just basically says. Issuance of building permits will still be subject to a water and sewer permit from the provider.
And
Because
that could.
90% of the time, we don't see this because they do put the water and sewer in so they can get their permits and they just wanna bond for the actual roadway.
Yeah.
So that they can take their equipment in and out and then do that later when the weather permits. So I think we might just wanna revise this section. To say something like issuance of building permits will still be subject to a water and sewer permit for the property or something like that.
It's not in that agreement.
No, so this one, we don't have that to retrospectively go back and see.
Scott's waiver was back, when especially Hammond was
Yeah,
allowing people to start with the idea that, if permits were available, they could get those, so they let them build on the hope that
they would be
have
able to
capacity.
connect, yeah. And here, it's a little different because they've already been given capacity and already have the development agreement. I just don't think. From a legal standpoint, we have much of a choice because of how this is worded, other than to give them their building permit.
That's what I wanna.
Yeah,
Make
so I
sure
think we
that
need
the
to change that
change
for the
those
future.
language.
Okay.
But just, that was just kind of a way of information and to get it on the record, so if any problems come up in the future, we have a discussion and can address it, so.
Cause they didn't wanna come and talk directly to you and go around Austin and me both.
They probably would have a hard time doing that before they had gone through you guys.
Well, they
Then they have
tried.
a right to appeal your decision.
I've been working with them and they're pretty nice guys, really, and they understood my point of view of it too. I'm like, here's my concern. I straight up told them, but I think as long as we've got the documentation there, we're fine, so.
Okay,
That's all that I had.
we'll get some proposed language changes to our development agreement, make sure they're okay with that.
I know it's gonna be warm, but is that snow gonna melt off that rain shield?
It may not all melt off, but they can at least hopefully deal with a little bit of it. If it's a little bit warmer and they can. I don't know how they're gonna get down the face of that anyway, it's slick as anything, it's like visqueen,
So
so.
I had a thought, can we make good money if we start charging kids to go tubing on it?
You don't want the liability of when they hit the bottom of it.
Oh, there's a liability.
That would smell like a slip slide.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna mention too, and Cindy just emailed back to your email, Lance, but we did get in the development agreement with Ammon and that agreement across, or that development across from Costco about doing a traffic study and when it warrants a traffic signal that they'll
Grand
have to,
peaks.
They would have to
Yeah.
do the light, cause I don't wanna be on the hook for that later.
and Cindy just sent back an email saying she'll amend the language to
Okay.
what you suggested, so.
Okay.
I think we'll be good there.